Woo! Hello, everybody. Today, we are welcoming back our precious Lynn. Thank you for coming back.
Hello.
Hello, Ironroot. Welcome.
Hello.
Welcome in the Line by Line episode 9. And we will be discussing a very, very special song by Joan Osborne, One of Us. Okay.
If God had a name, what would it be? And would you call it to his face? If you were faced with him in all his glory, what would you ask if you had just one question? And yeah, God is great. Yeah, God is good. Yeah. What if God was one of us? Just a slob like one of us. Just a stranger on the bus, trying to make his way home. If God had a face, what would it look like? And would you want to see? If seeing meant that you would have to believe in things like heaven, and in Jesus and the saints, and all the prophets. What if God was one of us? A slob like one of us, just a stranger on the bus, trying to make his way home. Just trying to make his way home, like a holy rolling stone. Back up to heaven, all alone. Nobody calling on the phone, except the Pope, maybe in Rome.
Yeah, that's a double meaning there at the end. Nice reading, Ironwood. Okay. So let's do our line by line, and I will read the first line. If God had a name, what would it be? And would you call it to his face? Lynn, what do you think about that?
Well, that's very challenging to me because when I think of God, I think about God being a creator. So God is creation. And so God creates both good things and bad things. And so when you call out a name, I think of that. It's just so holy. It's so holy. I can't call out a name because it's too sacred.
I thought creation is a good name. And like, what would you call it to his face? Like, Lynn, my idea was like, call him Creo. That's
Creo?
Yes. His full name is Creation. And then his short name is Creo. That was actually an excellent. You said God is creation. And that's, yeah, that might be his name.
Oh, creation.
Yeah.
Oh.
That was such a wonderful idea that you said, like God is creation. And I always was thinking like you cannot put God in one place, but creation is definitely what God is. So yeah, God's full name is Creation, the God. And his short form, if he would like come down and talk to us, hang out with us, would be Creo. Yeah, there, we nailed it. The real name of God, Creo.
Oh man, I'm gonna mess this up. So
are you gonna get in trouble?
yeah. Well, God ain't gonna like what I could to say.
What?
I don't know.
No, God doesn't have that. God doesn't judge you. Don't worry. You judge yourself.
No, he judges
God
me.
just
I'm
loves
pretty
you.
sure about that part.
No, God just loves you. That's it. Whatever you do,
Well, yeah,
like, I'm not
that's where
judging.
I wanted to go, right? Like God is love, right? So
Why
yeah, what
Nothing.
Okay.
That's all
So,
my reasons for the behavior. Like I'm just, God doesn't judge me, right, Creo? Okay.
yeah, well, creation is somewhat more distant, right? Like love is more involved. It's more intimate.
Mm.
Um, and yeah, like, well, if you call God by his name, right? Like you're trying to find his identity, right? Like you're trying to constrict him to this one handle that you can use to relate to him. And then the question is, well, yeah, like would you do that, right? There's this element there where it's like what are you losing when you do that, right? Like what is the transgression that you're making that you're not aware of? Because Lynn was talking about this way of having reverence, right? And like it's too holy to engage with. And it's like, yes, right? Like when you start pointing at the name, you're probably gonna blind yourself, right? You're gonna lose something. So that's where I would end.
Wow.
You're a hopeless romantic, Ironroot.
Oh, is that a compliment?
I think hopeless is a compliment.
Oh my.
Nailed it.
I'm having a rough time here.
Yes, yes. I will harness Lynn's powerful female energy to keep you in yeah, in a good mood. So well, I think if you will see God as somebody like too big to grasp and to understand, and with this fear, and would be afraid to constrict him to one name, it puts distance somehow, right? And the whole song is about not putting distance. Like she's trying to say with her lyrics here. Also, of course, I'm like running further with the song. She's trying to say, what if he weren't so big and ungraspable? What if he was like that? Yeah. Sorry. Next line. If you were faced with him in all his glory, what would you ask if you had just one question? Lynn?
All right, so I'm going to tell a story. I hope you don't mind.
Yeah.
So there's an old Native American called Chief Black Elk. And Chief Black Elk, he had a vision, a dream, it's 150 years ago or so. And in his dream, part of what he came out of his dream was this idea that there are three pieces. The first piece, P-E-A-C-E, and so the first piece, which is P-I-E-C-E. So the first piece is finding peace within yourself, P-E-A-C-E. That's the first piece. The second piece is that you find peace within you and another human being. That's the second piece. And the third piece is that you find peace with a community of people. So it's this idea that there are like levels to levels to finding peace, and that and there are three parts of that. So what would I ask God is the question. And so I would go back to 3 years ago. I was we were in the central Idaho where there's salmon. So there's endangered salmon going up these little bitty streams. And I would wonder, you know, that modernity or humanity, they're becoming extinct, these wonderful fish, these wonderful salmon that go from the ocean all the way inland to Northwest United States. They're becoming endangered. And I would say, how would I find peace what would it take to recover the salmon population? Or how would I find peace knowing that perhaps our society would endanger them? So my question would be, if this is true, this vision that this Chief Black Elk had, if this is how we as a society is going to have peace and harmony, then what would it take for an individual to get peace? And how would that transmit to another human? And then how would that transmit to a country? I think that the term in his dialogue is country. So that's kind of the story that I have. And it was a wonderful, when I seen this huge salmon fish go up this little bitty stream, knowing it was endangered and knowing perhaps it was the last time I would ever see this beautiful, wonderful thing in the stream. It was just so that's what it reflects for me, is the question to God as to what would it take to find peace with our nature, and humanity coexisting together. So.
Yeah, that's a very good question. Ironroot?
I don't think I have the answer. I think what it would take would be our best. Right? We'd have to try our best. So when I look at the text, it's like if you were faced with him in all his glory, right? So where that brought me was to this place where it's like, oh, right, like I can see it all, right? Like it's just too much, and it's all the things that I haven't paid attention to, right? And the things that I wasn't aware of, and then that diminishes me, right? Because now I'm in contrast. It's like so what being faced in that way is humbling, right? Like it's you're in awe of what's in front of you, and then what's the question to ask at that point, right? And I was trying to figure that out just now, like what kind of question can you ask, right? And you can ask a question about the world, right, or about him, but like you already seen him in all of his glory, right? So like, what would you ask about that? And then, well, what would you ask about the world? Like, why would that be important, right? Like what would you focus on in the world? And then I was like, oh, the question is, who am I? Right? Like, what's my true nature? Like, how should I look at myself? That would be the question that I have. Yeah.
Ooh, that's deep.
Yeah, damn. Who am I? And the God is like, in all his glory, you are my child. The end.
Well, yeah.
Or
he's like, well, you're the person, or you're the hero of this story, and this is going to be asked of you, and then you're just like that, like, oh, really? Oops.
I always think, like, what would God actually respond? And so I do have my own idea. Like, if I see God in all his glory, he's like just there in all his massive glory, what would I ask if I had just one question? I think ask is also a request or not? Like, am I understanding English language correctly, Lynn? So is asking also a request? So
well, I know it depends on Santa Claus. You know, do you think God is Santa Claus, or do you think God is
No,
Creation.
Santa Claus is one thing and God is a different thing. God, I do think God is creation. Lynn, you actually were absolutely spot on. Like if God had a name, it would be a creation. Like that's for sure.
So
Trio.
asking, right? You can ask for something, right?
Yeah.
So then you're asking for something specific, but you can also have like a general ask, right? Like I want to resolve this or help me resolve this, right? Which wouldn't
Hear me
ask for
out, God.
specific.
God, in all your glory, hear me out. I have one ask of you. Can we just hang out? Like once it's like come to me and let's hang out. Let's just like drink a cup of tea on a terrace together, look at the sunset, and just like hang out, like high five and stuff like that. Because when I think of God in all the glory, I don't know, maybe it's arrogance that I think I'm worthy of hanging out with God, but it's something I really would like to ask of Him. I would like to hang out with God. And I even see the exact place how I'm hanging out with God. And it's like I have goosebumps when I even imagining that, right? Like I don't know, you can't see. It's just like, yeah, let's hang out, dude. or like it doesn't matter. Like I don't care about gender. God, like sorry if you are identifying in a different gender. I have to add our current.
That was your question. Like
Yes.
that was an actual question. What gender are you identifying
No,
with? Like...
no, that wasn't my actual question because I know God says like there is no gender. God is like there is no gender, or look inside your pants. Like God is like, I have given you gender, and you know what's your gender. Okay, people, whoever listens, interpret it in your own way, but in the most positive way. I mean it as the most positive thing because I love you all.
Yeah,
And
well, God is saying it, right? So like it has to.
Yeah. So my only ask, when can we hang out? Just fucking assume I can hang out with God. I'll be like, okay, Lynn Manuel, like when can we hang out with God? And like, can I invite buddies as well? Like, can I get friends in? Like,
are we gonna do it on a Zoom meeting?
No, I wanted to be on a wooden terrace. Like I was precisely imagining the thing. Like I actually see it's a sunrise or sunset because sun is shining like that way. And the God is with us in all his glory, and he's just like this massive light. So like you just like it's just like the moment you come closer to God, you like feel loved. Sorry, Lynn, on the video, I'm coming to you actually. So yes. Yeah. And yeah, so that would be my question. When it will happen? Because I'm already believing it will happen. And I want to touch God and high five him. Like I want to hold his hand. Oh, Lynn, hold on. There. We are holding hands. Try. High five! High five. Yeah! Ironroot, we have to do with you. It has to be like that. There you are. Put your hand down. There. Yeah, don't. Yeah, okay. No, don't do that. Sorry. Okay.
Thank
Next
you,
slide.
God.
Thank you. Ironroot, you read this line.
And yeah, God is great. Yeah, God is good. So yeah, that's I
Lynn,
guess
you
self-evident.
interpret. No, perhaps it's like, come on, Lynn.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Positivity.
This is what it's like to hang out with God. Yeah. Great. Good. Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ironroot.
okay. Next line.
What?
This
No,
one is
hold
better.
on. I did not have my take on it.
Oh, what's your take?
I think it's a setup for the next line. So you had absolutely perfect instinct to read it in.
So here we go. Yeah. So anybody have a comment on that one?
No. The
No?
punchline, it was a setup, like all of this was a one sentence actually. And I think the main sentence is, what if God was one of us? And yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, what if God was one of us?
Lynn?
That's a bold question. Like this is I think the bold claim of Christianity, right? Like God became one of us. Yeah, what's that like? What's that like to be hanging out with God? Like, what would you be doing? Like, would you be sitting in the sun, like having a good time on the wooden terrace, or would you be asking something else? I don't know.
Lynn, what if God would be one of us?
Wow. God is creation, so that would make it he, she is. But then that would be, what is that? That would be, there's a word. What's the word?
Anthropomorphizing?
There you go. It would be that. So. So it would be accepting the good and the bad together, because oh, well, I don't know if this is true or not, but if God was creation, then God would be the negative and the positive, the light and the darkness, the good and the bad, and so that we would accept one another as we are. So it's like accepting even a pathetic narcissist, for example, I guess.
Shout out to all pathetic narcissists. I will tag every one of you in this video.
That's right.
I don't think we have enough space for that, but okay.
We said pathetic, it's a limiting factor. So, yeah, Lynn? Yeah, that's a good summary.
Yeah, what do you think about it? What it would be like if God was one of us?
I actually have no doubt. Like, if I were God, I would definitely be one of us. I would just like, okay, let me try out this human. Let me try out this human. Let me try out this human. And like God is just like,
you take them for a ride.
Yes, God takes them for a ride. That's how God feels and expresses himself. What self? Sure self. Herself? Sorry, my English is very limited.
Just do him. That's fine. Like that
Okay.
Let's all keep up with the.
You feel hurt? Okay.
I don't. I actually am absolutely fine. I just don't think. I think God is everything, right? I'm pretty sure God had tried to be an animal as well, and I'm pretty sure God tried to give. Yeah, Zeus is not God. That one is a demigod. Sorry, Zeus, don't strike me or don't rape me. So Zeus is a demigod. Yeah, Zeus is known
that's
for
your
that.
list of priorities. Being stricken, being raped.
Yeah, stricken is more dangerous. Okay. Okay. No, not going there. No. And probably cutting that out. So, okay. So I do believe God tried to give birth, or God gave birth. Sorry, God doesn't try, God does. He's like very similar to Chuck Norris. So
Yeah, it sounds like Zeus again.
it's like, what's with you and Zeus? Like, is
Well, it's
Zeus
my
is?
buddy.
Oh,
Come
oh,
on.
I know. Ironroot, I know where Zeus is. He's under that blanket that you covered up on your sofa. There is Zeus just
Yeah,
hiding. It's like, let me out.
he can rest there for a while. I'll let him out when it's probably time.
Ironroot protects all women from rapey Zeus by keeping him under his blanket. Sorry, I like, that's very inappropriate, people. Okay, I don't know how this song has inspired that. Okay, I do believe God is that God has walked among us many times without advertisement of supernatural and thunder and beasts announcing him. I do believe that God came in sort of undercover into our existence, and yeah, in the most normal way possible, because that's where real humans are. Like those at the top, the rock stars, whatever, politicians, they are not the majority of human hearts. The majority of human hearts is just us, people, like people who take a bus somewhere, people who are hurt, people who have problems, duties, and everything. Who would, yeah, like, so I don't have a doubt that God is one of us. And perhaps it's you, Lynn.
I have a question. How would you recognize God if God is one of us? Okay, then would it be grace that would allow you to recognize God?
And glory.
Or,
I don't think if God wants to be hidden, he would not be recognized. I actually believe that if God wants to be one of us, he would make sure he will not be recognized, but you might feel just better in his presence. Like God is one of those people. Like there was sometimes this person barefoot on the sand, just walking, looking into the ocean, and to everybody who could not recognize that person, it would be like a homeless person. But anyone who believes and who sees more and beyond, they would recognize it's God, because like they would feel just absolutely amazing near that presence. Like this one you cannot hide. You can hide it by appearance, and people who are not able to see light in the dark, they would not recognize God. But people who are will. And yeah.
Yeah, so you anticipated the next line. Just a slob like one of us. Right?
Yeah.
So him being in a physical deteriorated state, like you said, right? Like the guy on the beach who's not that taking that well care of his looks and all of that, right? Like he's just there being good, right? Like doing good. Yeah, like where's that balance, right? Like there's a balance between taking care of ourselves and doing good. And God also has to straddle that line.
aliens.
Yes,
Aliens.
exactly. Exactly. Aliens also have God.
Aliens.
Same God.
Aliens.
Yeah, that's a good point. Damn it. If the God is slob like one of us, is he an alien? Although aliens also do have
Maybe they're slobby aliens.
no, it's hard to imagine that we are alone in the universe, right? It's really hard because we are little tiny beings on a ball that revolves around a ball of fire, right? And we have like we revolve, and around our ball revolves another ball, which is moon, and all of that is going on. But the universe is vast, and it just goes beyond our most like advanced ideas of like space, right? Like it goes just beyond, like whatever you think space is, it's beyond that. That's how big the universe is. And I do believe aliens do exist, and I do believe if God is one of us, right, then he also is one of the aliens as well, just a slobby alien. Good point.
And perhaps we're aliens. Are we aliens?
Yeah, I mean, aliens would mean that we are not native to this planet, right? And we don't know that, right? Like somebody might have brought us here. We don't know that. The point is, I would not state something as a fact until I'm completely sure. And this one is just never had been proven. So I would never state it as a fact. It's a theory that is probable.
So I think I have an easy solution for that. So the way I find out if I'm an alien is I watch in the mirror and I'm like, what the heck is that? And then I'm like, oh, that's real alien. So that's how I resolve that for myself.
Yeah, but I had this experience as a child. I watched in the mirror and I was like, oh my God, who am I? Like, is it really me? And I was like really surprised seeing my own face. I was extremely surprised. Like, my face shocked me. That's how, so yeah, perhaps, but yeah, aliens is bigger mystery than God, I think. So everything is a mystery.
Yeah, Lynn, so how do you decide whether someone is an alien or not?
It's not decision, dude. If somebody is an alien, that's like that person is an alien. It's not your decision, right? Ironroot?
You're not allowed to not identify as an alien if
No,
you're an
you can
alien.
recognize an alien in somebody else, but it's not decision, right?
Well, yeah, but there's a judgment there.
Oh,
Right? You need to
hello,
base...
my friend. What's your dog's name, by the way, Lynn?
Her name is Cameron.
Cameron. Hello, Cameron.
Yeah.
Cameron.
Yeah, the camera's on.
Cameron.
Now she's clicking me. I know. Yeah, you're gonna have her whining now.
Oh, Cameron is
I think dogs are aliens. Like they just live in our houses and they just like pretend that they're our friends. Like I think they're planning an invasion. Like,
there was a time in my life where I didn't believe in God at all. And so it was just easier to imagine God as an alien and an intelligent life form. So that's why that brought it up to me. It's like, because sometimes it's easier to, relate to God as something more intelligent than you are. So it's like a hierarchy thing that you refer to. But yeah.
But you said it absolutely correctly, Lynn. Like you were spot on. If you would summarize God in one name, what would it be? And you said it's creation. And yeah, you can summarize somebody who is full pure creation and potential as an alien, but what if he was one of us?
Yeah, just a stranger on the bus.
Ooh. Trying to make his way home.
Yeah, so now my question is, where's his home? Like what? God has a home? What does his home look like?
I do believe that singer is identifying with God here. Like she's sitting on a bus trying to find her way home. And then she would be entertained. She would, and probably while thinking of these lyrics, she feels helpless, powerless. But then what would she think about somebody who would be super powerful? She would think about God, right? The creation, Creo. So, and then she's going on a bus trying to make her way home, probably from making a mistake where she felt powerless. And then yeah.
Yeah, so in a sense, she's acting out a hope. It's like, oh, right, I'm in this shitty life or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
If I just could have God here, and if I could relate to him and like he'd see my problems, he could help me out. Yeah, so I do see that, and I can also see the perspective that you're sitting in the bus and you're like, okay, when are they gonna talk to me? When are they gonna ask me questions? Because I know all the answers.
I'm just like one of those weird people that talks to strangers on a bus. And actually once like people really happy to talk to me on a bus. Like each time I come on a bus and most of the people just like looking at their phones, but then there would be some that would look at other people with hope. And yeah, I would talk to them just like randomly. And I remember one lady just gave me a hand lotion. She was like, oh, she would talk to me and then like, your hands look really like you work too much. Let me give you a present. There is a hand lotion. It's just like, what? Like we are driving like few stops. And I'll be like, thank you. Thank you. I do need to take care of my hands, right? And there are a lot of times that I would talk to strangers on a bus, and then they would be like, give me a random advice which would seem profound and magical to me, right? And I could interpret take care of your hands in many ways. I'm pretty sure that lady, whoever she was God on a bus. Yeah.
I always get handed Kleenex. I don't get lotion. I get Kleenex. Baby wipes.
Yeah, I get handed toilet paper.
That's interesting. Yeah, but sometimes there were the stories on a bus that stranger on a bus that I remember being God for somebody. And I am not a God, I promise, like not to my knowledge, I'm not God, but I would go by bus a few stops and there would come a person who would not talk and she would hang to everybody like a little calendar, and on the back of the calendar would written that she represents the Society of Mute People. And then for that calendar, she would ask some coins in return. And everybody was like bored and like, ah, beggar. And like they would give her back the calendar and like they would keep giving the thing back to her. And then I would look at her and I also gave her back the calendar because, you know, crowd instinct. But then I look at her just as the bus approached the stop, and she stood at the back door and her shoulders kind of hunched. And I felt that she is at the lowest point of her life. And then I don't know by what force I stood up. I came to her, I put my hand on her shoulder, And then I just give her some money. And I did not speak to her because, mute. And then I was just like, it's okay. I looked in her eyes. I was like, it's okay. I love you. It's okay. I accept you. It's okay. You're doing a great job. Like I would just like look at her with this thought, right? And I'm not a God, but that was just the thing that I wanted to do really, really badly. And there was no choice for me. I just like had to do it, right? And I still remember I could feel absolute grace on me. That one little action, I could feel amazing. So I sat back down. She looked at me. She looked at me with just like, thank you, look. And then she left the bath. And it was not the money itself, right? It was the point that her suffering was recognized. Like she kept knocking on a door, help, help, help. And then she would be like, go away, go away, go away, right? Her suffering was recognized. That's the thing. And that feeling when you just help somebody is amazing. And you don't help for political reason. You notice that particular human being. You see that one human being you can help, and you help. And that's what it means, a God like one of us trying to make his way home. Yeah, what God is trying to do, if I can think of that song, if I can project my own experience, right? God is trying to find a way to his own divinity through being in a normal human body, right? So God in this, he would take some absolutely broken human body with horrible experiences, with pain and suffering. And then he would say, let's see if I can be divine, experiencing all that pain. And yeah, that's what it means trying to find his way back home. Try to be divine when you're hurt, when you're poor, when you're in pain, right? So good news for everybody who is suffering. There is God riding you at the moment.
Blessed are the poor.
Yeah. Next line, Ironroot.
What if God had a face? What would it look like? So yeah, like I want to connect a little bit to your story. It's like what is his face, right? Like his face is what it's conveying, what he's seeing, right? It's conveying what he's perceiving in you, and it's connecting to you in just the right way. It's like Nodrik said, right? Like, okay, so there's someone who's effectively ignored, and a recognition of the person, even if it's just through the suffering that they're undergoing, right? Like the recognition of the person, and that they have a right to be the way that they are, and that the way that they feel is valid, right? Like we can be that for ourselves in some sense, but like we can shoulder that whole burden, right? Like we need the affirmation of others to know that we're not insane, and I think that's part of the grace that was going on in the story. And so if I have to imagine God's face, it would be looking at you, right? Like the real you, right? Like back to the question that I would ask God, who am I? Well, like that face would be seeing the real me, and it would see my struggles, but it would also see my potential, and in the reflection of the face, I would get a glimpse of what that would be like.
Lynn?
Well, it brings up a couple things for me. There's looking at God and looking through God. That thing. But then there's also the mask and the muse. So, and the carnival. When we all, you know, people wear masks, and in the carnival, you know, there's a cultural carnival thing where you wear masks, and then there's this unmasking. So that's the kind of, those the two things that it brought up for me, is that one empty eye and one full, and a mask.
So if God had a face, it would be a mask, because his face is like his real nature is too bright for us to grasp. That's beautiful. That's like actually like a poetry reading. If God had a face, it would be a mask, because his true nature would be hard for us to grasp. No? Lynn, it even rhymes. That was a very good summary.
I'm a poet and I don't even know it.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. I agree with Ironroot as well. If God had a face, regardless of what it looked like or what mask it would have, it would be the face that would look just through you. It would be the face that would recognize your pain and potential at the same time, right? And it would be the face, the actions of the God who walks among us would be actions of a person who would show others how to come there, how to get home. Like he's like I'm not sending, like I just want to show you how to get home. And everybody has this potential. Amazing. Yeah, good summary.
And maybe even more important than how to get home, what home is, right? Like what it would look like. Giving the aspiration and the inspiration to look for the home, right? Like the real home, not like this place that you just sleep, but like the place where you find safety and comfort.
Yeah. Okay, I read the next line. And would you want to see, meaning his true face, if seeing meant that you would have to believe in things like heaven and Jesus and saints? So basically the idea of this line, would you even want to recognize God? Because that would limit your understanding of life, because then you would have to believe in that particular thing. So seeing God's true face would mean you would just be like, you would have the concrete knowledge, right? At this stage, God is this mystery. What if, and if it like that, and what happens to us? Yeah, when divine comes. Would you want to? So the main question in here, would you want to recognize God if it meant you have to believe? Lynn?
I just hate putting God in a box. I mean, that's kind of what that does, right? I mean, beliefs, having a belief puts God in a box. And I just, it's so difficult for me to even think about starting or having a belief, because then it's then it becomes restrictive. But then again, you're an embodied person, and that's how you would have a relationship with God, is by beginning with a belief, I guess. But that's
yeah, for me, there's a ton of things there.
Yeah.
So believe, right? Like we have to believe in things. Like we don't have an option. Like when you make an action, you believe that it will have a certain outcome, right? You don't know that, you believe that. So we're already in this like floaty relationship, right, where we're not detached from reality, but there's this gap, right, where that's filled with our belief. And then, well, like I have this memory of like, okay, so if I would meet Jesus now, would I start believing? And I was like, yeah, probably not, right? Like
What?
the fact
Really?
that, yeah, like the just seeing of Jesus wouldn't convince me of anything, right? Because my conviction is based in all of these other things, right? Like there's this whole structure that I'm using to understand the world, and seeing Jesus would be in conflict with that structure. And I say no, like it's more important for me to maintain that structure than to believe in Jesus, right? And you can obviously flip that, right? Because you can say, well, that structure, like, what do you know what you're talking about? Like, do you really know what structure you're using? It's like, no, I don't, right? And then the question is, well, what structure should I use, right? And from that perspective, you can get into the belief and into faith, but yeah, the proposition that was in front of me is like, is this proof, right? Because that's what it is. It's proof of something being real, gonna change your mind. And I realized that, well, in order to change my mind, a whole lot of other things have to happen. It's not just sufficient to be presented with this thing that's conflicting with how you think the world is. So if I would have to believe, right, like there's an implication there that I know what that belief is, and I would say, well, if you have to, then it's real, right? Like that compelling nature, it's grasping at something that's truly true, and so then I would want to believe, right? Because if it's true, then that's the only way. Yeah, so that's what that brings up for me.
Lynn, what do you believe if you would meet Jesus? Like Jesus just appeared in front of you. In saints and prophets and everything.
Well, I would need a miracle, right?
Yeah, the appearance of Jesus
that is
a miracle. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't be able to recognize it.
Yeah, and you are able to recognize. Like imagine, like there is like the entire room lights up on fire, and Jesus comes to you and says, "All of this is true. I am real." Would you believe? And saints and all the prophets. I can tell you what I would do. Like if Jesus would appear right in front of me with all the thing and glory and thing, I would ask him, are all of those saints and prophets correct completely, or are they just like interpreting you? So I personally would like Jesus to explain to me all the saints and prophets, because okay, let's face it, if a divine happens right in front of your eyes and Jesus appears, you would have to fact check with Jesus before you believe. Like that's what I would do. What would you do, Lynn? Because we know Manuel would just like not believe it, like fake news, Jesus.
Well, wouldn't there be a download, like some type of informational download?
Yeah, that would be awesome. You know, like in Babylon 5 when that angel thingy, whatever his name was, downloaded all the knowledge into Guy. Yeah.
So I would believe if my hair turned white. Otherwise, I think I would be with Ironroots.
Oh, Jesus can make your hair turn green like that, right?
Ooh. Just trying to make his way home, like a holy rolling stone. So yeah, I think I'm gonna have to ask Lynn to make sense of this one, because I'm having a hard time.
Holy rolling stone?
Just trying to make his way home, like a holy rolling stone?
Well, I can go two different ways. Holy Rolling Stone, so that would be the Rolling Stone magazine. Or I can go holy about rocks. You know, rocks are really cool. And so I don't know if you ever, you know, you hike and you see these beautiful arches or beautiful canyons. You know, my hometown, there's a Snake River Canyon where that, what's his name? Evel Knievel tried to jump the Snake River Canyon and then he fell to the bottom and broke every bone in his body. So that's the town I'm from, where Evel Knievel ended his career by jumping a canyon. And
daredevils.
yeah, Evel Knievel. So it's a Gen X thing. So it's an older generation thing, I think. So yeah, so those are the two places I go. The rocks.
Gen X, stoned Gen X, and
yeah. That's where I go.
But for me, in this sentence, like the main part is trying to make his way home. Like basically, the main idea of God being one of us would be to see if from being a human with the flaws, he can make his way home back to the divinity, right? And Holy Rolling Stone, it's just like rhyme thing that she did. That's it. That's
yeah,
how
maybe we should add the next line, back up to heaven all alone.
Yeah, that's the main idea. The idea that actually when she says all alone, she relates to him. Like I'm pretty sure she's all alone by herself. And then she's relating to God. God is one of us. And then he will try to make his way back home, still all alone, just like me, Osborne.
Oh, I feel so sorry for you.
No, she's like, it's the same for everybody, right? Like we all feel alone. Because the way we live, not a lot of people are able to understand who we are and why we do things and what we believe in. That's why we all feel alone, right? Even surrounded by massive amounts of friends who love us, we still feel alone. Yeah.
So yeah, that brought up a lot of me. I'm like, holy cow. So one of the things that stands out to me is rolling a stone back up to heaven, right? So it's rolling the stone up, and that's reminding me of Sisyphus, right? Like this endless job of taking on the burden of the day over and over and over again.
Yeah, Sisyphus never succeeded though, so.
Well, yeah, or he did, and he had to.
No, he did not. Like, actually, that's the point. Sisyphus indefinitely, forever till eternity, keeps rolling up that stone, and it keeps crushing him. And then he keeps rolling it, and it keeps crushing him. That story never had any other ending. Like the only ending of that story is that he still keeps doing that.
Yeah, so, the endless nature and it's saying something about reality, right? Like that's one of the things that we do, right? Like we get to the day, and then the next day we do it all over again. And so then the question becomes, well, like how are you going to participate in that, right? Like are you going to see that as a punishment by the gods, or are you going to see it as a blessing? Like is the stone holy, or is it a device of hell? Because it could be either, and that's depending on the way that you relate to it. And then the other thing that stood out to me in the line was up to heaven which is his home, right? So now we know where his home is, right? So he's not on the bus to the place that she's going. He's on the bus to get back to heaven.
I don't know, Ironroot. I only hear one sentence, all alone. You hear the destination, but I always hear all alone part. That was the only part that shuts out to me. Lynn, what part shuts out to you most in those sentences? And
yeah, it would be the destination too, because you know that what's trickling in my life. It's like, where is my where am I supposed to be? Where is my home at? You know, I just moved. Can't find. You know, there's this. It's like tornado of chaos that seems to be happening and has been happening for years now. And so it's, you know, very difficult to find. It's like, it's not going to happen in this life. It's just going to happen in the next, because it's just too much chaos in this one. And there's no grounding. Okay, Ironroot.
So yeah, I think it's interesting, because I think the heaven and the loneliness are connected, right? Because why do we feel lonely? Well, because we're in the struggle, right? Like Nodrik said, right? Like it's your personal struggle. Like people don't have the ways to relate. But I think that if you get to heaven or closer to heaven, right, now you're sharing something with other people. Like there's this common sense of the good, right? Like the common sense of where you need to go, and that's uniting people. And this uniting between people is the solution to the loneliness, right? So the struggle is in some sense necessary to get there, right? But that also then gives the appreciation looking back, right? It's like, okay, like I'm now in this better place, and I can look back on the struggle, and I can look on other people's struggle and see, even though their struggle was different, they're trying to do the same thing, right? Like they're trying to get to the same place.
Although I think, no, like she's identifying with God here. She's like, nobody calling on the phone, except maybe for Pope, maybe in Rome. So she's identifying with this loneliness, and then she's thinking, well, at least if you would be God, Pope would call you, but nobody calls her. Like, she's absolutely alone. If God would be one of us, Pope would call him. Whoever was the Pope at that time, I think John Paul, when she wrote that book, the Polish one. Not book, but song.
There's been times in my life when I've been so isolated that I had a dream about calling people. I would like call people in my dream, like in a phone, because I was like so isolated, and there was nobody to interact with or communicate with, or to process what was happening in my life. And so I would, in my dream state, I would call them on the phone and have, you know, conversations over the phone. And if somebody didn't want to, you know, they didn't want to talk to me, they would like not answer my phone. They would not answer the phone. So yeah, so that's interesting.
Dream. Right. And Ironroot?
Yeah, so my mind went to a really sad place, right? If you imagine God hanging around on earth, right? And everybody's like blown away by him, right? Like everybody's but who's his friend? Right? Like who can he rely on? Like there's no one there for him, because like
there is me.
Well,
like
yeah,
he can absolutely rely on
there.
me.
I was going there. You stole my thunder. Yeah, So yeah, like, let's analyze the whole thing together. So we have talking to God, asking questions, seeing God as a person, and then what is he doing, right? Like rolling the stone.
He's being one of us, trying to get home.
That's for sure.
In any way, God, if you're watching this YouTube channel, and I'm sure you are, please make sure that all four of us would hang out on a wooden terrace with the sun down, and we would high five each other, all of us.
Yeah, and don't forget to like and subscribe.
Yes.
Thank you, God. Like and subscribe. And by the way, again, God, thank you for giving us that amazing sponsor that we have, Free Time.
Oh yeah.
And thank you. And I know Lynn got it, Ironroot got it, and I got it, and we all enjoy it. And thanks to that amazing sponsor, we are able to give you those fresh ideas that you get. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye. And Lynn, special thanks to you for being with us. You're absolutely, you're like one in a million.
Anytime. I'm all yours, darling. I'm all yours.
I will absolutely want you back.
How endearing.
And
I'm so blessed.
Ironroot, thank you for being the loyal co-host. Bye.
Oh, my dog is crying.
Don't forget
I'm gonna
your free time.
Okay.